Hello everyone and welcome to the HobbyGuard. Today we will be role-playing an Executioner's chapter Space Marine. Now the reason you're not seeing my ugly mod today is because I intend to use some of this footage for a review of the book Oaths of Damnation, precisely on the topic of the Exorcist chapter. It's a book about the Exorcists. It's pretty cool. The Exorcists are an interesting chapter. I honestly thought it was a pretty dumb idea originally, but you know, the book is kind of well done and it sort of has turned me over. At the very least, it's an interesting idea. I guess whether it's very stupid in the world of Warhammer 40k or whether it's just a cool idea, it will depend on the execution. So if you're interested in role-playing as one of these guys, let's just go over real quickly into their chapter history, their chapter lore, and let's see a bit of what they're about, and then I will explain my own customization here. Okay, so we're going to talk about their personality, which attitude you can take while role-playing as one of these guys, as well as their cosmetics and different playstyles. So, Exorcists, and it reads: The Exorcist chapter harbor a dark secret. Their progenitor is known only to the highest ranking members of the Ordo Malleus, and details of their creation have been placed on their inquisitorial seal. Though strong of will and virtually immune to corruption, the depths to which they sink to achieve such stalwartness border on heretical. Now that is pretty ambiguous. What it is hinting at is that the Exorcists, they go through a ritual in their initiation process, as many Space Marines do, but unlike many Space Marines, the initiation rituals of the Exorcists revolves around inviting a demon to possess the initiates. And they're during this process, they're very closely watched by a certain faction of the Inquisition, a very radical faction, obviously, of the Inquisition. I think they're called the Plutonians or something like that. And as well as psychers. There have to be psychers present that they may aid in the invocation and banishment of these demons that they are calling to take upon their pool bodies, their pool souls as well. So in the end, the rite of initiation is about, through their own force of will, they have to exorcise the demon from their being. Now, when they do that, the demon they won't just be normal people after that, right? There's a number of changes that happen to them after they have exorcised this demon. Mainly, they are pretty much incorruptible by chaos from now on. I'm not saying like fully 100% incorruptible. I just have not found an example in the lore of an Exorcist chapter Space Marine who was corrupted. In fact, there have been examples where someone has gotten a hold, like a Chaos Space Marine, Wordbearer Chaplain or something, has gotten a hold of an Exorcist and is about to corrupt their soul, and he finds, to their horror, that there is really no soul there because they already gave it away in a pact to a demon when they were but Space Marine initiates to the chapter. And so yeah, it is a very tragic chapter. In fact, these Space Marines, they are known as having a very chill outer personality. They seem kind of very mellow, very tranquil, very centered usually, but that is outside of combat, right? Once they go into combat, they do all sorts of weird things. Some of them are observed by other Space Marine chapters as being very violent, very aggressive, or almost berserker-like, whilst others are incredibly perfectionist, right? Whilst others are very schemy. They like to make plans and strategize and pull the strings behind the scenes and plot. Whilst others, they just go for the attrition and they just stand there with a big gun and take punishment just as much as they duke it out. And if you know anything about chaos, you will understand that that is because they have taken upon some of the characteristics of whichever dominion the chaos that possessed them during their initiation ritual was from. That is to say, if an exorcist space marine gets possessed by a Cornite demon, then he will become more berserker-like. If he gets possessed by a Slaneshi demon, then he will develop a very clear example in the lore is that of the sniper who's always chasing that perfect shot, right? But it's not just perfection, it's just the indulgence in whatever brings you pleasure. Of course, for a sniper, that will be the perfect shot. But yeah, that happens to those who are possessed by a Slaneshi demon, and that may present itself in many different ways. And those who are possessed by a Xinqian demon, for example, a Psyker got possessed by a Xinqian demon, and he can taste lies. He always knows when someone is lying to him. So yeah, I think that's enough background for the Exorcists, and I'll just go over my cosmetics here real quick. As you can see, I mainly went with the Space Wolves Champions set options. Not because I like Space Wolves, I very much do not like Space Wolves, but because they have some engravings, and just as far as the cosmetics that I have unlocked, this is the base that I have. You know, their armor has some runes, some engravings. I did choose the gauntlet with the Inquisition insignia on its right arm, because, well, they work very closely to the Inquisition, and I also like that plate and beaded like collar that he has, that like beaded rosary that he has tied to it. So remember, these are Space Marines that are like, they're occultists, right? All of them. They're not all of them psychers, but they are all scholars of the warp to an extent. They are initiated in different like horizons, which are like brotherhoods within. Sorry about that, my game crashed, as this game tends to do. And did it just crash again? No, I'm chilling. Alright. So yeah, I was just going over the cosmetics there real quickly. And yeah, well, I'm not entirely sold on the torch on the back. But that's the thing about the Exorcist, right? They offer a lot of freedom in how you develop your chapter, how you develop your roleplay. That book I told you about, Oaths of Damnation, it focuses on the Hexbreakers, which are a vanguard force of the Exorcists, right? So yeah, technically they are a codex compliant chapter for the most part, but they do heavily focus on units, vanguard units, right? Phobos 10 armor, snipers, eliminators, I think they're called, and so on, and reavers and all that stuff, right? So yeah, you can basically choose whichever class you like, roleplay however you like. But going back to the cosmetics, that helmet, again, pretty much any helmet will do. I like that one, my survivor helmet, first of all, because it looks cool just in general, and also it sort of speaks to the dual nature of the Exorcists, right? As I was saying, these are a chapter that have entirely damned their souls. They have communed with demons, even if they have done so only to destroy them, to use the weapons of the enemy against the enemy itself. Well, there is a reason why we do not commune with chaos, why we do not commune with the warp in the 41st millennium. And there is a price to pay, and they sure have paid it. Anyways, your outer demeanor, so to speak, your how you portray yourself towards others, you won't be very cheerful. You won't be very very talkative for the most part, because again, you have to be in constant control of your passions. But once battle begins, well, that's another story entirely. So let's start looking for a fight. If that's all you wanted to know about the video, that's just like the rundown of how to play an Exorcist chapter. Well, then see you on the next one, I suppose. If you want to learn more about The Exorcist, I will be again doing a review of Oaths of Damnation. There will be a spoiler-free review and a deep dive spoiler talk. If you want to watch some gameplay, no, not gameplay, sorry, not gameplay, but gameplay. If you want to watch some gameplay, please stick around, and we'll discuss a bit more about the how to roleplay an exorcist. I will say though, the modifiers in the new stratagems game mode, I mean, I guess it's no longer new, it's new for me, but these modifiers are an amazing roleplay tool, as I have explained before in the channel. Sometimes limitations are great for creativity, right? So depending, like for example, the other day, it's no longer here, but the other day I played as an exorcist as an exorcist sniper, mind you, out of all things, with a modifier that you had to do an execution every 20 seconds or something like that, or otherwise you would start losing life. And well, that's a very core knight thing to do, right? So once the battle begins, you have to be constantly going after blood to replenish your own vitality in battle. So I guess I was role-playing as a core knight, as an exorcist that was possessed by a core knight demon. So yeah, I'll go over the modifiers for this week real quick, see if I can do a hard one, and that sounded weird, but yeah, hard stratagem operation, and I might just die on the attempt, but hey, that's fine. The Emperor expects. And only in death does duty end.